All right, so I think we should go ahead and get started. So good afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's great to see all these wonderful faces this afternoon. My name is Annette Durnack and I'm the Director of Business Development for the Penn State Lehigh Valley Launchbox. And I'd like to welcome you today to our Launchbox Ladies program, The Power of the Pivot. I know that we're all hearing the word pivot more than we would have ever thought we would have heard it. It's just a very popular word right now. But today you are going to hear from someone who is truly an expert in the pivot. She has successfully pivoted her own career and is instructing others how to pivot theirs. So we are really excited to be bringing Dr. Cheryl Robinson to you today. I'd like to ask you to please follow us today on social media. You can do that at LV Launchbox or #Launchbox. The program is being recorded, so it'll be available later on our website. This is going to be an interactive program, so there'll be opportunities to interject thoughts about yourself and your own pivot during the program. And we'd love for you to stay on at the end, and we'll have you unmute mics and have some discussion back and forth amongst the participants and do some Launchbox Ladies networking, ask questions of our speaker. But during the program, please stay muted, so that we have good quality of sound throughout the program. So today is actually our 20th Launchbox Ladies event. So I'd like to share with you a video that we have compiled that celebrates the history of the Launchbox Ladies initiative and the momentum it's created and the network of support that it's provided to the female entrepreneurs in our community. So let me kick this off for you.
Launchbox celebrates the spirit of women entrepreneurs and creates a network of support for women.
Launchbox Ladies is special because it's made of women for women. Whether you are brand new to business and just starting out with a great new idea for a new business, or you're a seasoned businesswoman, there's a place for you there and you'll feel welcomed and your voice will be heard.
When Dr. Richardson saw the need for especially young females who were concerned about entrepreneurial endeavors and didn't feel they had the support that they needed to go ahead, she felt the need to develop the group to give them that confidence, to show them the way. Through her spirit, she gathered a whole bunch of like-minded individuals, and together we're trying to support female entrepreneurs.
Launchbox Ladies makes a concentrated effort to spur on the entrepreneurial efforts of women, because so often women do everything for other people before they start their own dream. And so the money that Launchbox Ladies, the funding that Launchbox Ladies can provide for women may be just the thing that a woman needs in order to put herself and her business idea forward.
Launchbox Ladies has given an opportunity for the community to come into Penn State Lehigh Valley, meet students, meet women in various fields, and hear from experts who have been successful in their field. And I think by bringing all of those people together, it really helps us go out into the community and be our best selves.
We get to know people that we otherwise would never meet and to support each other. And, I think that just sitting there at those lunches, the bells go off in our heads about what can we invent, or what business opportunity might we have, or who do we know that we can tell about Launchbox Ladies so that she can come and get inspired and perhaps apply for one of our grants.
Launchbox Ladies has impacted my life in many different ways. The most important one, it has given me the confidence to put myself out there when going to interviews, going to network events, and things of that nature.
It's been a wonderful impact to me in my business because it's been a place where I can come to meet with other women who share the same challenges that I do in business. We lift each other up when we fall, we pat each other on the back for our successes, we share what works and what doesn't work, and in doing so, we just help each other grow.
There's room for everybody, that if they have an idea, Penn State Launchbox Ladies should be the place where they come and explore the possibilities of growing their entrepreneurial idea. And it's not just for entrepreneurs, it's for people with an entrepreneurial mindset, because it's that kind of creativity that really fuels innovation.
Penn State Lehigh Valley is an entrepreneurial campus. It has an entrepreneurial spirit, it's innovative and student-centered. That's the culture here. Tapping women entrepreneurs, inviting them to think out loud give advice, answer questions, and tell their personal stories is good for the audience who attends, especially our students. But it's also good for the larger community to recognize the contributions these women are making to the economic growth and vitality of the region. When you think of it, women make up at least or more than 50% of any community's intellectual capital. We need to invest in developing that capital. Why would we not? The Launchbox is absolutely filling a huge gap and is setting an example for others to follow. I'm very, very proud of the work that it does.
So if you are new to Launchbox Ladies, I hope that that gave you some great insight into what we're all about. And again, we're really thrilled to celebrate our 20th event and thrilled to have you all part of our celebration today. So with that, I would like to introduce to you our Chancellor, Dr. Tina Richardson. She's been the Chancellor of Penn State Lehigh Valley since 2015, and she is the founder of Launchbox Ladies. So she has been the inspiration, she's had the vision, provided the leadership to create Launchbox Ladies into what it is today. So we're very grateful to have her and have her behind us to launch Launchbox Ladies even further. She's been involved in leadership initiatives for women throughout her career, starting at Lehigh University. She's got a doctorate in counseling psychology, recipient of numerous awards for her educational leadership, including most recently the 2020 Women of Influence Award. And she, of course, serves on several community boards. So, Dr. Richardson, welcome.
Thank you so much, Annette. This is a great opportunity for us to come together. Today's event is exciting for any number of reasons. The speaker alone is enough to get us here and motivated. We've all experienced transitions in our lives and in our careers, but 2020 has ushered in the most monumental pivot that's impacted just about all of us. Through all of it, we've hosted virtual Launchbox events that celebrate innovation and lift entrepreneurs and business owners who are navigating their own unique challenges at this time. In fact, today is our 20th Launchbox Ladies Speaker Series event. Today, we come to continue the conversation with Dr. Cheryl Robinson, who is truly an authority on how to embrace the pivot and to go at it with intention, self-confidence, and a balanced approach to risk. This is all part of Launchbox Ladies, where real-life examples, skills discussions, and women at all stages of their careers come together as one powerful network to support, mentor, and inspire. Now let me turn the mic over to our moderator, Sharon Turcha, who is our Director of Strategic Communications at Penn State Lehigh Valley. With more than 25 years of marketing and public relations experience, Sharon's worked extensively with highly interactive agencies, universities, and community banks across the country. And needless to say, given the transition to an almost entirely digital world in marketing, she has certainly had a few pivots of her own. Sharon is a proud Penn Stater and actually started her education at our campus when we were located in Fogelsville. Sharon?
Thanks, Dr. Richardson. True story, all of that. So we're here to talk about the pivot. We're all talking about it. We've been talking about it. We're all trying to do it personally, professionally. But what I really love about today's discussion, and especially our speaker, is she was in this space long before any of this came down with the pandemic. And it became our probably most important survival technique at this point, right? As women, we are going to have about 12 pivots throughout our career on average. And some of them intentional, some, as I know, and I'm sure most of you know, not so intentional, and that's okay. Dr. Robinson, or Dr. Sees, you're going to get to know her, is going to help us understand how we can make the most of these pivots no matter what, and become what she terms a superconductor despite these unpredictable times. If you didn't read her bio, it is so impressive. She's an international speaker, creator of the Embrace the Pivot brand, founder of Ready to Roar, and a regular contributor to Forbes Women. Just as a matter of housekeeping, if you filled out one of those handy dandy little forms that we sent to you in your Zoom link, you're going to want to grab that because she's going to take us through it. And of course, if you've got questions, put them in the chat. We'll get to them. So with that, Dr. C, we've lined up a bunch of people before you. Great to finally get to you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So you've done so many things. Forbes contributor, inventor of a brand. You're talking about the pivot before any of us knew that this was going to be a thing, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about your background before we get into the real meat of the discussion and how you got here?
Sure. So I have 15 years of experience in sports and entertainment. At one point during those 15 years, I said, you know what? If I'm doing this for other people, I could do it for myself. And I launched not one, but 2 companies at the same time. And fellow entrepreneurs, you know that was the worst thing to ever do, is launch 2 companies at the same time. I thought I was going to be a world-renowned event organizer working on top elite events. It did not turn out that way. I did host 2 main conferences, which were great. But at the end of it, I said, is this really what you want to do? And before I could even finish asking myself that question, it was a hard no. I had the wrong partners, the sponsorship. Although I was getting sponsorship, that was a struggle. People would say that they want to sponsor, then they didn't sponsor. So I've always wanted to be a New York Times bestselling author. And in order to do that, you have to write. And during that time, I was not writing. I had been published in local newspapers, online journals, but I wasn't fully dedicating myself to writing. So I made a commitment. I was going to focus on my writing. And 3 months later, after making that commitment to myself, I was at an event. And this lady is sitting there, and she was on the panel, and she's talking about how she's a contributor at Forbes Women. And everyone's like, oh, that's really cool. But for me, the question wasn't, oh, that's cool. The question was, well, how did she get to be a contributor? And there's no reason why I can't be a contributor. So right after the event, I went right up to her and I asked that question. And what I didn't know was the editor was in the room. And after explaining who I was, she introduced me to the editor. 3 interviews later, they said, welcome aboard. But you had to be an expert at something. And yeah, I was doing marketing events in sports, but so are a million other people. So I said, but what am I good at? I'm good at failing forward. When plan A doesn't work, I go to B, C, D, etc. I now tell people I'm on triple Z. That's how many times I've pivoted. And she said, I love it, but it has to be a little bit more positive. So it really made me reflect on my experience. And I said, well, what is going from point A to point B to point C? That's pivoting. And no one else was writing about it at the time. She said, I love it, run with it. And from that is where Embrace the Pivot brand came about. So that's like the snapshot version of my background.
That's great. The fail forward is really what has intrigued me as I've followed you on social, which, by the way, everybody should be following her on social. I think we'll have that information for you at the end. She's got all kinds of great stuff on there. We've all done that, where we've fallen on our face, and I think you have that choice, right? Where you can go one way or the other, right? Is that your most monumental moment when you started 2 companies and you thought, oh, maybe not such a great idea?
I've had many monumental moments, but it wasn't so much starting them, because at the beginning, right, as entrepreneurs, you think you are going to be the next Bill Gates or Sheryl Sandberg or Tesla, and you're not thinking about everything that goes into being the entrepreneur. The monumental moment came halfway through when I'm trying to put on 2 conferences under 2 companies with 2 different sets of speakers and everything. That was the monumental moment where I had the wrong partners, and not all of them were wrong, but you know, when you work with many different people, one bad, what's the phrase? One bad apple can ruin the bunch. So it was in the middle of it all where I said, I can't keep going like this. And after those two conferences wrapped is when I said, okay, we really have to reevaluate what's going on here. So I did dissolving the one company and keeping the one. That was hard because it was also loss of identity. And that's actually, I'll talk about that a little later on. But that was monumental for me. But then becoming a contributor just trumped all the negative feelings and thoughts I was feeling. Yeah.
I'd love to get into your presentation, and then we're going to go off to do some questions afterwards too. So let's leave a little time for that.
All right, sounds good. All right, everyone. Share my screen. Okay, so welcome. I am excited. I know I said that before, but this is awesome. I wish I knew about the launch box, or I wish there was a launch box when I was starting my two companies, because that might have helped me navigate the entrepreneurial space better. So thank you for being here with me. Okay. All right. I have a question for everyone. And if you have that worksheet, please take that out. That would be great. Again, the link is in the chat box. If you printed it out, you have a pen, awesome. This is going to be an interactive. So this worksheet's going to help guide you through the presentation. So how many of you have experienced a pivot either in your career or in your company, where you're pivoting your company? So what I would like you to do is, on the worksheet, the very first box, it says past pivot. I would like you to just jot down one of your past pivots. It could be positive or it could be a negative experience. Just jot that down for me, and I'll give you a couple seconds. All right. Okay, so everyone should be wrapping up. So now a lot of you, when you hear the word pivot, many people think about the Friends scene. So I want you to take a look at this clip from Friends. And as you're watching it, I want you to think, was this a positive experience or a negative experience?
Here we go, pivot, 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 pivot. Shut up, shut up, shut up.
All right, so quick note, last year I saw this t-shirt online that had the Friends scene from here with the couch, and it said pivot on it, and I bought it and I wore it way too much. So if anyone knows where I can get another one, please chat me, because I definitely want another one. But this scene, this is a chaotic pivot. And I know a lot of times when you're in a pivot, especially now with quarantine, it can feel like this scene from Friends, where nothing's going right. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to get that couch up the next flight of stairs. But today, I am going to take you through 3 core themes that I have discovered through my column at Forbes Women, where I have interviewed over 250 individuals around the world. And when I was doing my dissertation, I had the opportunity to study pivoting on a deeper level. So between the column and my dissertation, I was able to find core themes which all these successful people have done or experienced or gone through to help them make their pivot successful. And I'm going to take you through those 3 core themes. What does pivoting actually mean? And I want to give about 20 seconds. If you could just post your answers in the chat section, that would be great. And Sharon, if you could just read off a couple as they come in, I'd appreciate it.
You bet. So a lot of changes coming in here. Change, change, change.
Any other words?
Transition, moving ahead in a different direction, sometimes forced.
Yeah.
Complete direction change. Change in methods towards reaching a goal. Reevaluate, here's a good one. Recharting your path. Adjusting, turning in place, professional change involving growth and opportunity, altering course, often swiftly. Little mental shift.
Yeah.
Physical.
Yeah, everyone's hitting it right on the head, because there are pivoting encompasses so much. And what I can tell you and what I can guarantee you is that at some point in your life, you will experience a pivot, if not hundreds of pivots. And there's two main types. There's your personal pivots. So that's, you get married, you get divorced, you have children, you go back to school, you move to a new city. That's all personal pivots. Second one is professional pivots, which we're going to be talking about. So pivoting can mean fail forward, level up, advancement, transitioning, new beginnings. You go from point A to point B. I use transition and pivoting as one and the same. So as I talk, if I say transition, I simply mean pivot. And there's 5 verticals to professional pivoting. The first one is the forced pivot, which a lot of people during this pandemic have experienced the forced. And the forced is you've been laid off from your job, your company has gone bankrupt. That's all forced. The second one is a new company. So when you pivot within the same industry, say you're in fashion, you go from Ralph Lauren to Gucci, that's a pivot. Or you want to try completely new industry where you go, say, from sports to the automotive industry. The fourth is a higher position. So say you start off as an assistant, then you go to mid-management, executive, C-suite, and that higher position can be within the same company or within the same industry. And then the fifth one, which I'm guessing from the Launchbox, a lot of you are in, is you start your own company. And I've spoken to a lot of people during the pandemic who they were forced to pivot, but then they reflected and said, do I really want to find another job within the industry? Or is it time to do something that I've always wanted to do? And they start their own company. So based on those 5 verticals of pivoting that I've shared, on the worksheet, the box on the upper right-hand side, it says current pivot. One, I would like you to jot down, what pivot are you experiencing now? Did you just start your own company because of the pandemic? Are you pivoting your company to keep up with the trends that are happening? Were you laid off, but now you found yourself at another industry or company? Please just jot that down. I'm going to give you a couple seconds. And then after you're done with that, on the bottom left-hand corner of that worksheet, it says goal. I would love for you to write down, what is something that you want to achieve during this pivot? Why are you pivoting? And what do you want to gain from that? So I'll give you another couple seconds to fill that out. All right. So as I said, have interviewed so many people, and the first core theme that everyone expresses is self-confidence. In order to pivot and in order to make it successful, you have to believe in yourself. And there's three main topics under self-confidence. Loss of identity. Now, I talked about loss of identity. When I had to dissolve this one company, I said, like everyone knows, I've started these two companies. I come from the sports industry. And it took me a couple of weeks, maybe up to a month, to really say, it's okay that I had to dissolve this one company. It was better that I tried and know what happened than didn't try and always wonder if. And I had to say, I'm no longer going to be Cheryl from the sports industry, but I'm going to be Cheryl the entrepreneur, Cheryl the writer. And one particular person that I interviewed, she was Madonna's executive assistant for many years, and that's how she identified herself with. And as she spoke, she said that when she was ready to pivot, she felt that loss of identity, but she knew that she was better than being an assistant at that moment, that she had to act as her own boss because she was becoming an entrepreneur, she was becoming a consultant. So she really had to get in that entrepreneurial mindset and said, I am no longer this, and start talking as if she already was a successful consultant. So when it comes to self-confidence, you really have to understand that it's okay to let go. And when you're in the pivot, it's okay to let go and start identifying yourself with who you want to be and what you're thriving to be. Or striving to be. So loss of identity is huge when it comes to self-confidence. And if you can recognize and acknowledge that maybe that fear of loss of identity is holding you back, maybe you can start working on that in order to move forward with the pivot. The second one is self-awareness. You have to know who you are and the value that you bring to the table, because no one is going to know unless if you tell them. So being self-aware is so critical to building that self-confidence. And three, this is my favorite one, ego. So Sharon, I'm going to ask you to monitor the chat real quick. How many of you growing up have heard, don't let your ego get in the way. Ego is negative. You have to be selfless, not selfish. How many of you heard having an ego is negative? I can't wait. I love this one.
Oh, yes, of course. Absolutely.
I am here to tell you, having an ego is positive when it comes to pivoting, and get rid of that stigma around ego. Now, there is a fine line between being cocky and just showing the world, marketing to the world what you are capable of. So I'm not saying to be overbearing, but I am saying have enough self-confidence in yourself that when you go in to meet people or when you start a new journey, you can say, hello world, here's who I am and here's what I have to offer. And every single person I have interviewed, every single one has spoken about ego. Because again, if you are not telling people the value that you bring to the table and what you're capable of, you are never, or I shouldn't say never, it's going to take you longer to successfully pivot and move up than it would if you just come out and tell people what you're capable of. And a quick story, I had just come off the 2014 New York, New Jersey Super Bowl, and I was at a Columbia networking event, and someone joined the group, and I said, oh, hi, I'm Cheryl, I do sports marketing. And one of my professors stopped me, and he literally went in my face, no, who are you? And I said, Cheryl. And he goes, and what did you just come off of? And I said, the 2014 New York, New Jersey Super Bowl. And he goes, that's what you lead with. And from that moment on, although I knew nothing about pivoting at that moment, but that moment on, I knew I had to share the value and my experiences in order to just advance in my career in general. So please take the stigma away from the ego, be self-aware of the value that you bring to the table, and start sharing that with people. So now I like to bring you back over to the worksheet really quick. What are some of the areas that you need to work on to build up your self-confidence? If you could just fill that out, that would be great. Again, there's loss of identity. Let's see, let's go back. Self-awareness and ego. All right. The second core theme is risk-taking. And I want to mention, it's not that first you have to have self-confidence, then you're going to take the risk. These are just all the top core themes that everyone expresses when I interview them. So 2 is risk-taking. And a lot of people, they're afraid to take that next step because maybe you have a family you have to support. Maybe if you have your own company, but things aren't going well, you know that you have to dissolve the company. Maybe you have employees that you're concerned about. So there are a lot of factors that go into risk-taking. But in order to successfully pivot in your career, you have to be willing to take some sort of risk. So the first one is the risk of being ostracized. And that could be, maybe you have a core group of friends at the management level and you're afraid if you move to the executive level that they're no longer going to want to talk to you, that they're going to view you differently. And that holds you back from wanting to take that risk, you know, to get that raise, promotion, the title change. One of the people I interviewed is a former NFL player. And it was during this time, it was right before Colin Kaepernick started kneeling. And where the team he was playing for in the town, cops had shot and killed an 18-year-old. And he knew that he had this huge platform where he could reach hundreds of thousands of fans who believed in him. And he wore a shirt, you know, saying, I support, and the family it was on. And he said to me, I knew there was going to be a risk of being ostracized. I could lose my career. I could lose, you know, my contract, my friends, my respect, but I had to take this risk because I knew it was right. And that story has just stuck with me because you really, again, that goes back to the self-confidence. He knew what he was bringing to the table and he was able to take that risk. 2, which is what drives me to do everything I do in life, is the risk of regret. So many of the people I have interviewed said that not taking the risk was the risk. So they would rather take the risk, find out what happens, than later on in life saying, well, what if I did do this? How would that turn out? And the third one is developing grit. And the developing grit relates to the self-confidence. It goes back to, you have to know the value that you bring. One of the people I interviewed, she's in the music industry and she started out one of the largest hip hop labels. And she said her interview, they asked her to come to the set of the music video. And she said, I don't know what's going on, but she knew she had to go. And she just walked onto that music set like she belonged there. And before the interview even started, she said, here's what I bring to the table. And they said to her, welcome aboard. And she started right then and there. So developing that grit helps you take that risk. But in order to develop that grit, you have to have that self-confidence. And what I tell people is, you can take small little steps. If you start with a manageable goal, and you reach that, like set small manageable goals. And the more you reach those goals, then you start reaching for and setting larger goals. And then once you do that, you set even bigger goals. And that's how you start building your self-confidence. That's how you start developing the grit in order to take that risk to successfully pivot in your career. So go back to that worksheet, and then in the box where it says risks, what is one risk that you have to take, that you know you have to take in order to advance towards that goal that you put on the bottom of the worksheet? And maybe it's a risk that's holding you back. Just write it on there. See it on the paper. All right. Networking, number 3. Now, I just did a workshop yesterday on networking alone. Networking is the number 1 key to success. I wholeheartedly believe who you know gets you in the door, what you know keeps you there. And it is more the quality of your network over the quantity. And everyone I have interviewed has spoken about their contacts and how during their transitional period, they relied on their contacts to help them get to where they wanted to be. So under networking, while you're pivoting, if you have developed a positive reputation with your connections, they are going to want to help you. You just have to ask. And everyone that I have interviewed, they said, I asked. I asked them because I knew I had that positive reputation, and they wanted to keep that positive reputation. Social capital. For anyone that doesn't know what social capital is, it's just like resume capital. It's who you know. It's the quality of your network. Have you built meaningful relationships? Or do you just go into networking with the whiffum effect? What's in it for me? Because if you go in with the whiffum, what's in it for me, you are not developing meaningful relationships. And I know the techniques, I have the capability to develop meaningful relationships so that it's not where I need something right now and I'm just reaching out to you to make that happen. I've started a conversation with you. I've said, let's go for coffee. Let's go out for virtual coffee, so that I'm building this relationship over time, so that when the moment comes that I do need your assistance, you're going to want to help me. And it goes vice versa. It's how can I help you? I always go in to a meeting with how can I help you? Because it's a two-way street. And in order to network smart, you have to really start to understand that it takes time to develop these relationships. Sometimes it takes 2 years, but you remember their birthday, or you remember that their kids are graduating and you say, I hope the graduation goes good. It's that little stuff that helps you build the social capital. It's the quality of the people, not the quantity. And then the support system. So I have 2 different circles. I have my professional circle and I have my friend inner circle. And my inner circle necessarily does not correlate with my professional circle. There I have really good friends who they don't know what I do. That's not their world. And they're scared to be an entrepreneur. But my professional circle, they get it. They know. So I have 2 different circles to rely on depending on what that situation is. And to build that professional circle, again, you want the quality over the quantity. Who are the people who are uplifting you? Who are championing you during this pivotal moment in your career to get you to where you want to be? So if you could go back to that worksheet, and then there's one saying networking connections. I would like you to jot down 3 people, and it could be anyone in the world. It could be Jennifer Aniston. Who are 3 people you would love to connect with right now to be that champion for you? And I'll give you a couple of seconds. And right now, with everything virtual, it is so easy to meet people. And if you go in it with, on LinkedIn, I have had so many virtual coffees with people on LinkedIn over the past 6 months. And we've actually developed meaningful relationships because we're all home. We're all in front of our computers. And 15 minutes, that's how you start. So I always tell people, if there is someone you want to connect with, shoot them a message and just simply say, hi, I've seen your profile. I've looked at your background. You sounds like such an interesting journey. I would love to learn more about you and how you got to where you are today. Are you available for a virtual coffee? And 9 times out of 10, they respond back saying, yes, can we do this in a couple of weeks? And that starts the dialogue. And then I always go in with, oh, what projects are you working on? Because as they're talking and they're telling me about their project, I'm automatically going through my Rolodex going, who can I connect them with that can help them move along in their journey? And that's how you really develop the meaningful relationships. So again, when that moment comes and I need their assistance, they're going to remember what I've done for them, and they're going to be like, yes, sure. And that is how you successfully network and how you are able to rely on your contacts through the pivotal moments. Now, you've written down self-confidence, risks, networking, and connections. The very last box on that worksheet is actionable steps. I would love for you to write down 3 steps you can take this week or this month that will get you to that goal, which is right alongside that actionable steps box. Because what I really hope for you right now is that you're able to take this worksheet after the launch box concludes and you put it up somewhere by your desk, on your wall, that you can see this. So during your pivots, you can look at this and say, oh, I've actually accomplished this. Okay, great, I've accomplished that. And then just keep reprinting out this worksheet and keep going through that to help you obtain what you're looking for. All right.
We're getting some, this is awesome in the comments there, Dr. C. And I just want to give you a 5-minute warning.
Okay. Well, I have wrapped up because I know we're on a time limit, but I just wanted to thank all of you. And I just know that if you just stay persistent and you believe in yourself and you're able to take those risks and utilize your network, you will have a successful pivot, and you're not pivoting alone. We are all in it together, especially during quarantine. So thank you so much. And I would love to connect with you up here on the slide. Love Instagram, LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me however you would like. So thank you very much.
So I have a question for you as a mom of a recent graduate. The virtual coffee, actually one of her friends just messaged me yesterday and said, I'm trying to network, and he's actually not from this area in particular, and he's just wrapping up college here. I feel like when I email people, I reach out to them, I'm almost when I do this cold call, I just get nowhere. So I love your whole idea of the virtual coffee through LinkedIn and things like that. But he had another question, which was in this networking realm. how much is too much? When do you stop pursuing your main goal in terms of the person you want to connect with?
All right. So one, for the virtual coffees, if you frame it as, and I get messages, Instagram and LinkedIn for virtual coffees. And I think a great way to start that virtual coffee is just simply, and I'll use LinkedIn, is connect with them on LinkedIn, and on that little note section that you can add right before you hit the connect button is just, again, put a great profile, looking to expand my network, looking forward to connecting. That's it. Just, and then let them connect with you. Then a couple days later, or if you notice that they've posted something within their LinkedIn feed, you shoot them a message and you say, hey, I saw your post, or I've read your article. This is great. Would you be open for a virtual coffee? I would love to learn more about how you got to where you are today. So it's not like that initial connection, but it's building it up. Or you comment on their posts or a couple of their posts, then send them the message. Even on Instagram, people will follow me. My profile's public. They'll comment on a couple of posts, and then I get that message saying, hey, can we connect? You know, do you have 10 minutes to talk? So that's how I do it, and that's how it's been done with me. I go by the rule of 3. And you reach out to them once, you wait 3 days. Reach out to them again, 3 days, reach out to them again. After the 3rd time, if you don't hear from them, wait 3 months. And then do a follow-up saying, you know, just wondering if, you know, your schedule has cleared up now. Would you be willing to connect? Do you have time to connect? So I like the rule of 3. If after that, after you wait the 3 months, follow up and they don't connect, you just have to let that ship go because they're not interested in connecting. But there's 2 things you have to remember. People love to talk about themselves and they love to give advice. So if you frame it that way, oh, I'm looking to get into the industry. Do you have any advice for me? 9 times out of 10, they email you back with some advice at least. And then if they like talking about themselves, they are going to reach out and connect. So they like to talk about themselves and share advice. Once you understand that, it's going to help you start developing that connection with people. And then what was your second question? Or did I answer both of them?
You did, but I do have a follow-on in that one of the Pollyanna moments out of remote delivery right now is that you can also follow them at their events like this one today, much more so than you would have been able to if you weren't in their region. So you can look for what they're doing and actually ask relevant questions to the topic, which I think is, like I said, one of the few goods out of the remote thing. Question in the chat was, oh, and it just went up. Anything else you learned from a pivot that others can benefit from?
Oh my goodness.
And there was an earlier one about how do you start it? And I think probably you'd look at your forum. You'd start with your forum.
Yeah. So how you start it. So if it's not a forced pivot, give yourself, honestly, at least a year. So if you know that you want to change industries or start your own company, give yourself at least a year and set everything up. Do you have that good marketing packet? So I fully believe that everyone is a brand, and every day you market yourself, how you dress, who you talk, who you associate with, etc. And I actually have a marketing packet on myself. Like, here's what I bring to the table. Here's what I offer. Start compiling that. Then you want to start developing the meaningful relationships now with the people who are where you want to be and who can assist you or have been there and are retired. Because the more knowledge you gain on that, like, research is so critical. So the more knowledge that you gain, the further ahead you're going to be when you decide to take that risk, to go for that pivot. And some people even talk about their finances. Now, it's interesting. Some of the people I interview, they say, make sure you have a nice little cushion, savings, so that when you do pivot, you're okay. And then there's the other people who say you have to jump 2 feet in. It doesn't matter when it is. If you really want to go for it, you have to go for it now when you're motivated, and just figure it out as you go. So there's those two different people. So if you are, if you fall into the group where you like to have that financial cushion, start saving. Like in that year, do everything you can to align everything correctly so that when you do start to pivot, it's that much easier for you and you're already ahead of the game. Don't overthink it though, because sometimes if you think too much about it, you're going to psych yourself out. So make sure you have those goals. Make sure you create those small attainable goals. And every month you're crossing them off, because maybe that one goal is I need to have $10,000 in the bank, right? I'm just making this up. So you're crossing it off like, okay, this month I was able to save $1,000. Check, that goes for the finances. Then I need to connect with these 10 people. Okay, I connected with 2, check. So everything is there, but don't psych yourself out. That would be the worst.
So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. If I missed any, somebody flag me. But otherwise, I mean, this has been such great discussion, so much good information. I have a whole 2 pages worth of notes of my own, even though we've talked several times already.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it back over to Annette, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Okay. Oh, I have to stop sharing, right? Oh, Annette, you're muted.
You muted, yeah.
Thank you. You know, you think you got every step down. All right. Thank you, Sharon, for moderating. And Dr. C, thank you. This was awesome. I know, like, just like Sharon said, I took lots of notes, and I hope everyone else did. Can't thank you enough for sharing all of your expertise and your falling forwards or failing forwards with us so that we can learn from them. So thank you. And of course, thank you to Dr. Richardson for her inspiration in creating Launchbox Ladies. And lastly, I always have to thank our Launchbox Ladies Council, because we could not put together programs like this if we didn't have the support of all of our volunteers. So Catherine Bailey, Rita Guthrie, Nikki Gutgold, Dakota Reinecke, Tracy Damiani, Leanne George, Marilyn Rise. Thank you all. We do have some new programs coming up that we'll be telling you about soon.